The power of the internet is incredible because all you need is someone with certain following to say something, anything, no matter if it's positive or negative, and said statement will become a rule for a few years. And if there's a franchise who encapsulates that incredibly well, it's Sonic. This is a franchise that for the past few years has been molded by the internet. Take the Sonic Adventure games. They're fun, they're beloved, sure they have aged a lot, but they're still good titles. All it took was a few YouTubers to say they were bad, and that's why for many years you had hundreds of YouTube videos that started with "Oh, hey, didn't see you there. You know, when Sonic went 3D, things got rough." Then, other famous people said that a cartoon hedgehog and a villain named Dr. Eggman shouldn't attempt serious stories. And that's why the 2010 games have the simplest, safest, and most boring and forgettable stories. And let's not forget all those game journalists saying Sonic was never good, Sonic never had good games. Like, sure, Sonic has had a fair share of bad titles, but saying there was never anything good kinda makes me wanna strangle you. The combination of these factors, as well as many others, have caused the franchise to be seen as a joke in front of the eyes of many people. And you know, if that was all, then fine, but problem is, Sonic Team always seemed to be led by what people said online. Game journalists say Sonic friends are annoying? Let's remove them from being playable in major titles. Serious stories don't fit a cartoon character? Here's your Sonic vs Eggman plot for the 5th consecutive time. There was even a time where Sega kinda prided itself in Sonic being seen as a joke? Like, why? They even put one of their biggest haters as a brand ambassador. How does that even crosses your mind? Luckily, said person has now been replaced by a VTuber. And you know, respect for her. I don't even like VTubers, but that alone made me admire her. So where am I going with all of this? Sonic is not perfect, that's very obvious. But there's a reason why the franchise has gotten so far and why it's still attractive to many people. Why longtime fans still stick with it and why it's still attractive to kids. Because when Sonic does something right, it becomes an experience that people will treasure, and we have seen that many times in the past. Among all the fuck-offs this series has gone through, there's always that something that reminds us, yeah, I like this blue guy. So today, I want to believe we have gotten that something once again. Here's a game that shows what happens when you want to innovate, when you care, and when you put the right people to work on it. Sonic Frontiers. So, what's there to say about this game? Ever since its reveal, I was on the edge about it. When the first trailer released, I was still in a kinda negative mind due to what happened with Forces. At best, I was hoping it wouldn't be a fucking disaster. Then, a long time passed with nothing much actually. Except for one thing. It was eventually confirmed that Ian Flynn, a writer better known for making the good stories in the Sonic comics, was gonna be the writer of Frontiers. And that genuinely got me excited. I've seen his work in the past, and that ensured that at the very least, Frontiers wasn't gonna have a goo goo gaga plot again. Then, Sega finally released gameplay footage and it was fucking shit. It's like they decided to take a pre-alpha of the game and then gave it to fucking IGN to showcase it. Unexpectedly, the footage was boring, the reviewers struggled with the easiest of puzzles, and the game looked like another potential dumpster fire. But eventually things changed. It's like someone at Sega thought, hey, if we want to sell this game, we have to make it look fun. And that's exactly what they did. They released more trailers that made Frontiers look great, showcased fantastic music reminiscent of the 2000s era, they even talk about special techniques that professional players can pull off. And of course, Ian Flynn still being the writer definitely helped to keep the hype alive. I'm not gonna lie, all of that stuff made me get very excited for the game because it was telling me that this time they were gonna make a genuine effort in making Frontiers a very special game. Alright, so, what are we dealing with this time? Sonic Frontiers can be defined as a semi-open world game, where you have different locales you can explore at your leisure, with almost no limits within them. The controls are... Imagine that you take the gameplay of Sonic Lost World, but give it the mobility and speed from the adventure games, and add the boost from Sonic Unleashed. It's a gameplay style that keeps a familiar essence, but it's still unique. Although admittedly, it was a bit difficult to get used to. But I'll explain that down the road. So, what do you do in these locales, you may ask? Everything! You can run freely, take different challenges, go to more traditional Sonic levels, do some combat, collect tokens, items that increase your stats, and even gather these cute little stone creatures named Koroks. Cocos. Sonic Frontiers is a bit formulaic in its structure, but I don't think it becomes repetitive. You arrive at a locale, you find one of your missing friends, and collect a certain number of tokens that progress the story. And you must also find keys that nab you Chaos Emeralds, wrapping up with a climactic supersonic battle against a titan that... Oh, I'll get to that later. All of this applies to almost all the locales you visit, but again, I don't think it becomes repetitive because you have so much freedom in how you want to progress. The objects you need to advance are everywhere and can be collected through different methods, mainly by exploring, taking on cyberspace levels, and doing combat. Shall we see all of that in order? Exploration is what you'll be doing most of the time. Each locale is pretty big in its own right, but personally, I really enjoy them because again, it's bursting with activities to do. Every now and then, you can find spots that offer simple challenges, from puzzles, playing soccer, passing through blue squares, reach the goal in time, all of that stuff. I honestly enjoyed the variety there was, and it also helped that these challenges were bite-sized. Upon their completion, you discover more areas of the map, letting you know what's around you, which again, leads you to more challenges that show you more of the map. And while I was doing this, I could take a detour to do some platforming, which usually ended up rewarding me with tokens to help me progress. Sometimes, these platforming sections could take me to a completely different area from where I was intending to go, but said area could be filled with more collectibles and challenges to complete. And that created this chain where I was constantly going from activity to activity, and before I knew it, I will already have the collectibles I needed to progress the story, and I didn't realize it because I was having so much fun. And even on the occasion where I wanted to keep going, it was exhilarating just going from point A to point B. Sonic Frontiers had a lot to offer, but at all times it had me enjoying my time. Except for the puzzles before the boss battles. And that fucking free-fall minigame. That one sucked, and it genuinely pissed me off. The other minigames were good though, but this one specifically can fuck off. But say you prefer a more traditional Sonic experience, Frontiers also has that covered with the cyberspace levels, and I like them, but I have one gripe with them too. First of all, I think they were a neat addition that keeps things more traditional. These levels, unlike Forces, actually offer alternate paths as well as missions that give you more rewards. And I thought this was great as it gave me a good incentive to replay the levels, and I believe they only got better and more challenging as the game progressed. Even better was the fact that they rarely had moments where they play themselves and the boost no longer kills in this game, so the levels were no longer press boost to win like in Forces. So what's my issue then? Almost every single level, or all of them for all I know, copy the layout from a level of a previous game. Adventure 1 and 2, Unleashed, Colors, Generations, even Lost World. And I really don't know how to feel about it, because on one hand, that's a bit lazy, and makes me wonder if Sonic Team can still do good level design after Forces fucking suck in that department. But on the other, they pick some of the best levels of said games, and not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun trying to identify which level was which, and thanks to the missions, the new mechanics, and the new physics of the game, it's not like you're playing the exact same thing. There was only one cyberspace level that I hated because it was trying to replicate the drifting from Sonic Unleashed, and it's very clear that didn't work. But that was only one level. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the cyberspace levels. And finally, we have the combat. This is nothing new to the series. Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, and even 06 attempted something like that in the past with very mixed results. But I believe this is the best effort Sega has done at implementing combat in a Sonic game, aside from Unleashed, of course. You have your basic combos, special moves, and even a devastating parry that counters your opponents. It's nothing too deep or complex, nowhere close to your Devil May Cry's or Platinum games. But it doesn't need to be that. What you have is good for what it is. Combat is not the main focus, but every enemy you come across will ask that you remember what Sonic can do and apply it properly, so there is some challenge behind it. And it also helps that there's a wide variety of enemies, so I never felt that combat got repetitive. On the contrary, it was actually satisfying, and you know who encapsulates that feeling better? The boss battles, holy shit! Do you remember that excitement you felt when you fought Perfect Chaos with Open Your Heart playing in the background? Or the final Hazard with Live and Learn blasting at full volume? Or fighting the Dark Queen while listening to With Me, which is the best vocal song in all of Sonic? That's how every single boss battle in this game is like! They represent everything that makes Sonic so cool! They're flashy, crazy, and full with so much expression! All of that while having music that gets you excited to fight! It also helps that Frontiers has one of the best Super Sonic implementations in a while, because thanks to the combat, he's now more fleshed out. The bosses are so awesome because just like regular enemies, there's many ways to take them out, opening creative strategies in combat, and seeing how they react differently to your attacks, as well as having a plethora of amazing quick-time events is such a delight! Easily the best part in the entire game. I wouldn't mind doing an entirely new playthrough just to experience them again. See, that's the thing that I like. Sonic Frontiers is challenging in every aspect. In the combat, sometimes you have to think outside of the box despite how simple it is. And in platforming, you need to master every move and try different routes if you want the best ranks. You can even discover how to toy with the physics, and if you're sharp enough, you can overcome entire obstacles out of their intended order. Sonic Frontiers, in true Sonic essence, is a game that keeps going and it only stops when you want it to stop. And speaking of, here's something I found cool about the game. Imagine that there's something you dislike about it, like the combat for example, because there's so many bosses that, let's face it, are not fun. I especially hated the squid one because that one takes forever. But as I was saying, normally you need to defeat them since they give you portals that open the cyberspace levels, which again, give you keys for Chaos Emeralds. Even if you want to avoid that work, the game thought about that, and that's where Big the Cat enters the scene. Simply put, there's a fishing minigame in Frontiers. It's so easy to understand, it's very relaxing, and it has a lot of charm. I found myself coming back here from time to time because it was so enjoyable. But the point is, Big the Cat has a shop that sells you all types of items. Stat boosters, cocos, tokens, keys. Every item you need to progress is here. They're incredibly cheap, and gathering coins to buy them is very easy. Personally, I didn't have use of this mechanic. I was mostly in just to buy the egg memos, which holy shit are they good. But it's a thing you can do in case you don't wanna search for many items. Or run in circles for like 2 hours, which is also a thing you can do to break the game. With all the good things I've said so far, one would think I might be overselling it, but honestly, this game was that incredible to me and it does so many things right. But I also can't act like it's perfect. I adore my time with it, and I really want more people to feel the same way. But that is, if you can get past its faults and changes. Despite all that I have said, Sonic Frontiers still lacked polish in many areas. People who love their games to look and perform at their best at all times might be a bit disappointed. The graphics are not the best the series has to offer. I don't think they're terrible, but at times they can be just as bad as the modern Pokémon games at their best. I'm totally foreshadowing the next video. There's a considerable amount of popping, with platforms appearing out of nowhere as you run through the map. And of course, you have your occasional dips in frame rate. For those interested, I played the Switch version, so I don't know how the other ones fare in comparison. But personally, these issues didn't ruin my experience. Should they be there? No. But that's why you have to be aware they exist. Also, as a small nitpick, I wish I had made the cyberspace levels a bit more varied visually, since there's only 4 variations: Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and I wanna say it's the highway levels from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2? Still, some variety in the themes would have been nice. Platforming can be janky at times in the overworld. It wasn't very common, but sometimes Sonic will just clip through the walls or do something I didn't intend him to do. When you have Sonic running through the roof, your controllers can get a bit messed up, causing you to stop right on the spot. And in some rare occasions, the game doesn't register properly when it swaps between 2D and 3D sections. At the very least, you can quickly recover if you fall off, but again, these are issues that should have been ironed out. Earlier I said that the controls are a bit difficult to get used to, and that's true. They're familiar to previous games, but they're still their own different beast, especially in cyberspace levels. The main problem is the speed, since Sonic can go from 0 to 100 at the press of a button. And it's also bizarre because despite how fast Sonic accelerates in this game, he never hits that speed from the boost games, and as someone who played those titles a lot, that was very off-putting. Sometimes I couldn't tell if I was running normally or if I had the boost on, and that got me killed a few times. Also, I know this might be a turn-off for many, but Frontiers doesn't have much momentum. If you let go of the stick, Sonic will stop right on his tracks. And again, it's a change that feels so bizarre. So combine that with the extreme acceleration you can get with the boost button, and it makes it harder to get a true feel for the controls. You know what else I disliked? The lightspeed dash. So in previous games, that mechanic always gave you a speed boost after going through a trail of rings, but in this game, Sonic stops for a fraction of a second and... that felt so wrong, not gonna lie. All in all, I don't think the controls are bad, but you will really need some patience if you want to master them properly. And finally, that freefall minigame from the third island. I know I already complained about it, but... holy shit, I really hated this section. It's awful. I don't like it. If you can get past these issues, then I assure you, you'll find a great time in Sonic Frontiers. And not just in gameplay, even in the story. You know what? Let's go there now. For the first time since... Unleashed, I wanna say, the story and writing are actually something. This is where Ian Flynn enters the scene. I had such high hopes for him working on this game, and he did not disappoint at all. Sonic Frontiers has a story that takes itself seriously, with stakes that carry weight. There's an actual effort in world building, and the characters are real characters this time! It doesn't matter that they are cartoon animals in a serious story because they are done so well. Take Sonic for example. He isn't just joke, oh my god I'm so awesome all the time. He's much more fleshed out in this game while still being cool. This is easily his best characterization since Black Knight. And everyone else also got done so much justice that for a second I thought, oh shit, am I really playing a post-color Sonic game? Sonic friends no longer feel like tools. Sammy has an actual personality that doesn't involve constantly stalking Sonic. Knuckles is no longer a dumbass and his rivalry with Sonic is so genuine, and Tails, he was completely fixed! You can't imagine my surprise when they acknowledged that pathetic scene from Forces and justified it. I tell you, Ian Flynn really understands Sonic. Even Eggman got some small changes that made him way better. One of my favorite parts of the game was collecting his egg memos in the fishing minigame, just because his dialogue was so entertaining and full of great references and had good characterization. And Big the Cat, he's just there, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I even think the new character Sage was very enjoyable. She was a fantastic addition to the roster, and she was a better newcomer than Infinite or the Deadly Six. And that's a very low bar now that I said it out loud. But she's honestly great! I like this character a lot, fuck it! I liked everyone in this game! One of my favorite things from Frontiers was finding more conversations because they were genuinely good. This game knew how to treat its characters and the world with respect, while still being whimsical, fun, and serious. You know what else I loved? When they mocked the dialogue from the 2010 games.
I'm not going to adopt Baldy McNose here, though. My dignity has limits.
And I know this is a given since it's a Sonic game, but the soundtrack was fantastic! During exploration, the music was so calm and atmospheric. The cyberspace levels are hyper and really sell the idea that you're in a digital dimension, and the boss battle themes? Well, you already heard me screaming excitement. That's what I think about them. I think it's impressive how for this game they got so many musical groups, each making their own vocal track, and all of them are incredible! If I had to choose my favorite ones, I will say these are the best. And yes, I know those are all the vocal tracks in the game. They were all insanely good. Sonic Frontiers is a game that I still find it hard to believe it's real because Mania was fantastic and you will never see me say otherwise, but it relied a lot on nostalgia. And Forces wasn't a dumpster fire, sure, but it was a game that existed, that's it. So it got me thinking, can Sonic Team even make a new game that actually tries and brings new ideas? Admittedly, I didn't have much faith in Frontiers when it was first announced, but moving that terrible IGN gameplay footage aside, every piece of news and every trailer made me want to give it a shot. Now that the game is out, finishing it, and making this video, I think you can tell how much I ended up loving it. This game made me feel so many emotions. It made me laugh, scream, get excited, fuck it! It even made me cry in front of an audience, I don't care admitting that! Because every emotion it made me feel was earned. The game is not perfect, on the contrary, it still has flaws that should be ironed out. But there's a big reason as to why I liked it so much. Remember what I said earlier about Sonic games having that something that still keeps us attached to it? That something is heart, and Frontiers has so much of it. And you can see it behind the grading of the game, the respect for the franchise, all that music, and how passionate the developers were for this project. You can tell everyone involved wanted to make this game something special. This might sound corny, but back in a Sonic and the Black Knight interview, Morio Kishimoto, the director of this game, said the following: "I hear Sonic's voice in my head, and we are going to keep developing until Sonic says it's a good game. And I wouldn't be surprised if that mentality was ever present while making Frontiers." When I tell you in the title of the video that this is what Sonic should be, I don't mean that it should always be semi-open world. I mean, I still want them to continue to improve on what's been set upon here. But Sonic should be free, should be confident, should be fast, and above everything, it should be cool. Just like this game is. If this is just a glimpse of what we can expect for the future of the franchise, then I'm honestly very excited. Let's just hope that Sonic Team will keep that love and passion for future projects, because holy shit. As a longtime Sonic fan, this game has become something very special for me. Flaws and all. Now the only thing Sonic needs now, the only thing it needs now, is for Shadow to stop being treated like a fucking tool. Hope I'm not asking for too much there.